We would like to welcome you to the second episode of our CV Weekly podcast. I'm Tracy, and my husband and business partner Phil is behind the camera. Every week, we will be bringing you guests from all over the Valley talking about their businesses, charities, nonprofits, events coming up all over the Valley, as well as a musical performance. And much like we do in the issue of CV Weekly, which you can find on our website every Thursday, CoachellaValleyWeekly.com. We have a great show lined up for you today. First of all, I would like to thank our episode sponsor today, which is Fantasy Springs Resort and Casino. We also want to let everybody know that we will be having our 13-year anniversary party / podcast launch party at Big Rock Pub. And that's going to be on Thursday, June 19th from 6 to 9. It is open to the public, so we'd love to see all of you come out and help us celebrate. Okay? All right. So today our guest will be filmmaker Christian Sesma. We've got Shay Moraga talking about Shay's Warriors. And we have Matt King, who will be talking about his new booking agency, Dunes Booking. And we also will sit down and have a chat with Erin and Anthony from Empty Seat, and they will also be performing. All right, let's get started. We're here with Christian Sesma, writer, director, and producer of Sescree Films. And he's got a lot to talk about today. He's got so much going on. And you've had a lot going on personally, too. I mean, you just had your daughter's graduation, Lily.
Yeah, real life.
Your wife's birthday, Lily.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I got that. Izzy's your daughter,
Man,
Lily's your wife.
There's so many. I'm just surrounded by so many lovely ladies all the time.
Yeah. So what kind of projects are you currently working on?
I'm in pre-production right now, what's called soft prep, which is like before we start to go off. So I leave to Bulgaria at the end of June to go do a really crazy new creature feature out there.
A creature feature?
Creature feature. So like, the last movie that I just had released was called Into the Deep with Richard Dreyfuss. It was a shark movie, and we shot that all in Thailand, right?
Oh, wow.
And so same kind of producers were like, hey, we have this lion movie in Bulgaria. And so it's like a zookeeper gets trapped in the enclosure and has to survive. Kind of like, I don't know if you remember, like, talk about Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer did Ghost in the Darkness, was like a lion movie. And then like Idris Elba just did this movie called Beasts, which was like a lion attack movie. So
right.
This would be like my first real creature feature is what you say.
Okay.
So it's fun. It's like fun playing in different genres. So this is the first time I've really played in this specific genre because I've been doing action movies for the last
exactly.
I don't know, 6 years probably.
Yeah.
So
well, like Pay Dirt.
Yeah, Pay Dirt was like a crime.
Val Kilmer was in,
yeah.
which is when we met Val Kilmer.
Yep.
Yeah, and Philip actually had a small extra part in that. Yeah.
Yeah, legend.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I think that was his last movie.
Was it?
Yes, that he shot. Now, technically, Top Gun Maverick came out after, but he had shot that already before.
Previously.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was magic.
A great loss. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and so interesting enough, when Pay Dirt came around and we were looking to cast that, the producer was like, well, we have Val Kilmer's looking for a job, and I was like, are you serious? But he can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
The vocal cords,
right
the cancer and all that stuff. And I was like, he's willing to work though? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'll hire him right now.
We'll take him.
I'll dub him over completely. I get to work with Val Kilmer. It's like one of my all-time legends,
Exactly.
Like how many movies, right?
Yeah.
So, he was great. I mean, he was, in declining health but he still was able to do everything we needed him to do. All we needed to do was just dub him over. So we just had a voiceover artist who's awesome, that we knew for a long time. And he did a great voiceover for him. A lot of people don't know that's not him, unless you know his history.
Right, exactly.
But it was great. I mean,
it turned out great.
Then the cool thing is that his daughter, remember his daughter is in the movie?
Uh-huh.
So obviously that's his real daughter in real life, and she got to play his daughter in the movie.
Right.
And that was the first time and only time they've ever shared a scene together or screen time together. And for me, the nerd, like the movie nerd in me, man, like it was like the daughter. Okay, you've seen Willow,
Yeah.
like Willow. Willow. Val Kilmer is Mad Mardigan. So Willow, I've seen a billion times as a kid. So Val Kilmer's daughter that was in our movie was Joanne Whalley from Willow. Like that's their daughter.
Yeah.
So I was like, hold on. This is Mad Mardigan and Source's daughter that's in my movie right now. So like the geek in me was like, this is crazy. So, but that's a small little story of the stuff that I've been blessed to kind of have these amazing stories like that.
Yeah, and you've worked with a lot of the greats as well.
So far.
And maybe mention some of your other previous projects and some of the top actors and actresses
sure.
that you've worked with.
Into the Deep was my latest release that just got put out in February. It's called Into the Deep, and it was Richard Dreyfuss's return to the shark genre since Jaws.
Right.
So to get him to come back was not easy. So that was epic. That like I had done another movie with him that we shot here. It was called Every Last One of Them. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Mm-hmm.
We shot that with him, so we became friends, and we were always tight. And when I had this project come up, the studio was like, "If you can get Richard Dreyfuss to come back to do a shark movie, we'll greenlight that movie." And I took a lot of pitching and convincing, for me to get him to come back, but he did. But that was super cool for him to do another shark movie and talk about what that was for him. But gosh, Richard Dreyfuss, Mickey Rourke, Dolph Lundgren.
Who have you most been
Trejo,
starstruck by?
Oh gosh.
It's hard to whittle it down to one.
No, yeah, that I've worked with, I don't know. Oh, I actually will tell you who I was kind of like, wow, this is amazing. And it's obscure, but it's really not obscure. It's the RZA from Wu-Tang Clan.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, I'm a 90s in high school and stuff like that. So I was a giant hip hop junkie, right? Hip hop, rap, all that stuff. So the Wu-Tang Clan was like probably one of my all-time favorite rap artists and bands. And the RZA is like one of their lead guys. And so when I got to work with him and we did a few projects together, hearing and directing, but like, when you're having headphones on, right? You're listening, when you're directing, you're hearing people talk through their mics and stuff like that. So hearing the voice of somebody you have that you grew up listening to their music.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Like name somebody.
I was so starstruck when I first met Paul Rogers, and him and his wife Cynthia have become friends,
right,
and their kids and stuff.
Right. But you're just like, whoa, this is
13-year-old Tracy got all,
yeah, it's just trippy, right? So just hearing this guy's voice in my headphones was like, this is insane. Because again, this is like the actors didn't. He's an actor now, but he was, he's probably one of the all-time greatest like producers as well, and he's just a legend in the game, like a legend. That's like a Jay-Z kind of legend,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was one moment I was like, holy crap. I don't know if we can cuss or not, but I was like, holy smokes.
You can.
Okay, holy shit. I was losing it, right? But it was like that. It was like, whoa. And then also probably, like Dreyfuss was probably another one in a different way.
Right.
Because again, voice, I think there's something with the way we experience memory and store memory too. It's not just your visuals, but it's also food, right? Food, sometimes we eat something, takes us back to that place. And obviously audio, like things that you listen, takes us back to a place. So I've seen Stand By Me a million times too as a kid.
Yeah.
The Stand By Me movie, and Richard Dreyfuss narrates that. And he's in it, right? So he's the one narrating. So when I first worked with Dreyfuss, again, listening to a voice I've heard a million times, it's trippy and it's surreal. So again, it's one of those things that there's been a lot of those surreal stories that I'm like, dude, I get to do this. This is crazy. So
you live here in the Valley, correct?
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
Born and raised, Palm Springs Desert Hospital. Yeah.
And so you have a couple of other projects going on here locally too. You have a school program that you're doing? Correct?
Yes. So last year we launched Young Creators with the Palm Springs Unified School District. And it was a program. So we have all the middle schools in Palm Springs Unified. So Raymond Cree, Nellie Kaufman, James Workman, Desert Springs Middle, and Painted Hills Middle School. So we have about, now this year, it's 715 students that we launched a filmmaking program for middle schoolers. So it's specifically designed for middle school
Oh,
because
how cool is that?
it's mind blowing, right? So they kind of gave us
Yeah.
the ability to do this. And we created a curriculum to teach them the basics of filmmaking, because a lot of like high schools and colleges, they have what they'll call filmmaking, but it's not filmmaking.
Right.
Right? It's just like, dude, you're not doing filmmaking, you're doing videography. You're not doing filmmaking, you're doing photography. Like filmmaking, the way I'm doing it, or we do it, is a collaborative team, right? So you have a bunch of people working towards one project, right? So that's what we're doing. So all these kids, these classrooms get to work on creating short films, and I'm teaching them the exact way we do it in Hollywood. So we call it the only Hollywood certified film school program for middle schoolers.
Oh, I
So
love that.
it's amazing. So we launched it last summer. We had a giant program like during their summer camp, and then we have it year round. So during like the fall, winter, and spring semesters, we rotate through the schools, and now we're about to gear up again for summer. So I have a staff of about 15 instructors and assistants, and they're all there teaching this curriculum to all these like amazing students, making their short films from their ideas. And they get to tell their stories, and it's just incredible when the power of art and the power of collaborative art. It's like a band. It's not just one person. Like everybody has to work together to make a song.
Right.
Everybody has to work together to make a movie or tell this one story.
Yeah.
And seeing just kids that are like the quiet kids or the introvert kids or whatever break out of their shell and become something different is magic, and not just that, but then we give them the chance at the end of each program and summer school, we hold a big red carpet premiere at the Mary Pickford, because we're partnered with Ted and the Mary Pickford there.
Yeah, yeah.
So we get to hold a gigantic red carpet premiere for each program that they do. So they get to invite all their friends and family, fun. And they get to see their work on the big screen. So so it's like, I feel like I get to give them what I do and the magic that I experience for myself to them. So it's been a huge program, and like we're expanding, and it's been like this thing that kind of came out of nowhere. That's been my way of like, you're paying it forward in a way, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah,
but it's this huge win-win on so many levels. It's incredible. So we're really proud of that. Young creators.
And I love that you're doing that here in the Valley.
Yep.
Born and raised.
All day. All day. Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Giving back to the Valley. So
yeah.
Very
cool.
This
is, this is the Valley that, home is what I was happy. Like, it's given me everything, right? It's given me all the opportunities. It's closed a lot of doors. It's been a very interesting place to launch a career, but anytime I possibly can, I always try to, show a lot of love back home, for sure.
Yeah.
Because this is home.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. I love it. This is, where we raise our family and our kids, and, where we live in Cathedral City. I was born and raised in Palm Springs, and gosh, I live so close,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about anthropology.
Yeah.
So I was on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Well, because we're friends on Facebook anyway. And I saw that you gone on a few anthropology trips recently.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. Well, yeah. So when I went off to, again, because of sobriety, I was able to kind of turn my life around and went off to college, and was able to have it's funny because it's like, you were not this like ideal teen kid that shouldn't have had that had this like white picket fence life. And then you kind of got sober, and you were able to have that. So it's an interesting thing. It's like, when I tell that story pre-18, they're like, what? We just thought you're like some nerdy director dude. And you're like, no, man, we were running the streets. Like, we were thug punk kids running the streets. And then that. So anyways, I went off to college and went off to San Diego State, and I was able to marry my high school sweetheart. It's like it's such the white picket fence story. We laugh at it now, but it is because of sobriety. It is because I was able to kind of understand what life was meant to be, early on.
Right.
So I was fortunate and lucky that way.
Mindset, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And went out to San Diego State and was going there to get a degree in like teaching. Right? I wanted to teach kids, which is, again, full circle funny with the Young Creators program. But I fell in love with anthropology, and that's what I got my degree in, is cultural anthropology from San Diego State, which is
I saw that. I was like, oh, that's cool. You know,
yeah.
it's a whole different layer of Christian Sesma.
Yeah, I mean, it's the study of human beings and human behavior and cultural patterns and all that stuff. So I fell in love with that, and came home, and then one crazy story went to another, and the filmmaking thing happened. So yeah. So yeah, and today, yeah. And so I feel like that is kind of, I'm just always in love with like just people and places and things. I'm just always super curious, so we love to travel and try all the types of stuff. And we're just in Mexico City again and stuff. So it's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So when is your new movie? And the name of your new movie again is?
Oh, you guys are actually the first person I'm saying that to, which is true. I wasn't, because they're about to announce it at the Cannes Film Festival. So they're about to announce it next week. It's called Caged.
Caged.
Yeah. Caged. Yeah.
And when is that going to be
That'll
released?
Be 26. It'll probably be like a year.
2026.
Probably a year from today, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah, we shoot in Bulgaria, and then it's a lot of visual effects. It's like the most visual effects heavy movie I've ever done by far. So it'll be fun.
All right. Well, we will definitely look forward to that.
You'll get the invite as always. You'll get the invite. I always throw a local premiere for sure.
I know. We've attended a couple of them.
Yeah. So super fun.
We'll be looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christian.
Thank you
for coming in. And where can people find you or your previous movies? Streaming?
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy Google away, but I mean, I have probably like 3 movies on Hulu right now. Like, so if you have Disney Plus, you go into Hulu, which is, I think, like Lights Out, Section 8, those action movies are on there. But Amazon Prime, Apple TV, all that stuff, I think you just put Christian Sesma, and you'll have like the library. And I think some of the older work now is on like Tubi and Amazon Prime. And so it's like a bunch out for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, but you can always follow me on Instagram or Facebook, Christian.Sesma. And then check out the school program. Young Creators.
Young Creators.
Yep, Young Creators CB.
Okay, thank you so much, Christian.
You're welcome. Good to see you guys.
All right, Christian Sesma. We would like to thank our advertisers for this week's episode, Big Rock Pub, and they will be hosting our 13-year anniversary party / podcast launch party on Thursday, June 19th from 6 to 9. This event is open to the public, and we really hope that you will all come out and help us celebrate. Pickford Theater in Cathedral City, where they are not only showing movies, but they also host several amazing events throughout the year. So you can always go to their website, check them out, and see what all they've got going on. Kitty Pig, non-alcoholic beer co-founded by the lovely musician, producer, businesswoman S.J. Jones. These are quite tasty, so if you're looking for a non-alcoholic beverage to enjoy, Kitty Pig. Our next guest is the lovely Shay Moraga, and she's here to talk with us about Shay's Warriors. Hi, Shay.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about Shay's Warriors today and all the good things that you're doing. First of all, can we maybe start by how Shay's Warriors came about? I know you went through cancer yourself. Maybe talk a little bit about your journey.
Sure. In 2016, I probably was the healthiest I'd ever been in my life. At least I thought I was, right?
Right.
And I noticed as I was working out every day, I would have like an itch on my chest that just would not go away. And a couple of my friends said, hey, you should probably get that checked out. And I thought, no, I'm too busy for that, et cetera, right? Like as a working mom and, trying to keep life going, you just put everything off to the side.
Right. That's what we do.
And that was in October. I had a women's wellness, exam, the whole 9 yards that you do. I was 38 years old. So really, you wouldn't have thought anything other than being healthy. I ate organic. I did yoga. I was going to boot camp. My mindset was great. Life I thought was great. And then December 31st, I was sitting watching a movie with some family, and I had a pop in my right breast.
Oh.
And it was like someone had taken a knife and stabbed me. And it was really weird because that
Wow.
itch started again.
Okay.
And long story short, I did a self breast exam and I found a lump.
Mm-hmm.
So it was probably another 2 months before I got back into my doctor because, of course, it was the holidays. So I called as soon as I could, and they said, "Don't worry, it's probably nothing." That was the first call. 2 weeks later, I called again, and I said, "It's a lump." And they said, "Well, does it hurt?" And I said, "No, but I mean, could it be cancer?" And they said, "You're too young for cancer."
Oh, no.
And then the third call, I said, "If you don't have the doctor call me back, I'm going to come to your office and sit and wait all day." And my doctor's office at the time was in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
And I live on the Indio side. Anyways, long story short, the doctor finally called me back. I did get in another week later. So now this is almost 2.5 months since I had started that call. And I went in there and she couldn't find this lump. I found it for her, showed her where it was. And she said, "Well, we'll get it checked out."
Oh
The
my
next
God.
day, somebody called me, and a week later, I was getting it checked out. At my first mammogram ever. And the tech said, "Do you have kids?" And I said, "Yes, I have a 12-year-old." And she said, "The doctor will take really good care of you." That was my first realization that something was up. And then when we went in to do the ultrasound, the entire screen was moving and it was red. And I said to the specialist, I said, "Is that cancer?" And she said, "I've been doing this for over 30 years. I can't tell you because you're going to need a biopsy.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a vascular mass this large before."
Oh my gosh.
So I knew at that point in time I was in for it.
Yeah.
And a week later, and not even a week later, because she turned around and looked at her assistant and said, "We need to get her in stat."
Yeah.
And I think it was a Tuesday, I was having my biopsy. And by Thursday, they were, pushing me to figure out what was going on. The doctor had called me and pulled me into her office for like 3 hours and finally told me I had breast cancer. And it wasn't just breast cancer, it was stage 3 triple negative breast cancer.
Wow. I was just going to ask.
We
what
would
stage
originally,
was it at that point?
yeah. Well, they didn't know. They never know the stage until they open you up and they take the cancer out and then they figure that out. Today, I know that it was stage 3 triple negative breast cancer, but at the time they just said you have triple negative breast cancer. And of course I said, "Well, what is that?"
Yeah.
Because there's many different types
Very
of breast
scary.
cancer that's out
Yes.
there. And triple negative means that there's no progesterone, there's no HER2 positive, and there is no estrogen. It's not an estrogen-based breast cancer. So to treat it, the options were limited. And the only way to treat it was chemotherapy, surgery, and then more than likely radiation. And so 38 years old, yeah, that was how it started.
Wow.
In February 11th of 2016.
So you had the lump removed.
Yes, I went in they actually started me on 20 rounds of chemo first.
Mhm.
So they did opposite of what a lot of people have had done
Mhm.
because the studies had proven that it worked better that way.
Okay.
And I believe it's called neojunction chemotherapy. So they start every week on Thursday. I went in for anywhere from 3 to 5.5 hours of chemo. And then I would go home. We did that for 20 weeks. And then I got a month off. And then after that month, I had a massive lumpectomy,
Mhm.
which is basically half of your breast, but not a full mastectomy. It was too traumatic
Mhm.
for me to think about having a mastectomy. And the
Yeah.
other thing about that was for this particular type of breast cancer, the studies didn't prove to be better longevity-wise
Right.
if I had mastectomy or if I had a lumpectomy. The only reason I would have had a lumpectomy is if I had the BRCA gene, which is a
Mhm.
hereditary type of breast cancer, and then it's very aggressive and it usually comes back. That BRCA gene is not what
But
you
they
want to have.
tested you for that, and
They
you didn't
tested
have
me
that
for that,
gene.
and I was negative. So that's why
That's
I
good.
chose to go the opposite way. And I had full faith in my doctor, and it was a really, really scary time. And then so I had
Oh,
the surgery.
absolutely.
4.5 weeks later, I started 38 rounds of radiation, and
Oh,
you
my.
go in every single day, Monday through Friday, for
That's rough stuff.
5 minutes,
Yeah.
6 minutes. And I think the radiation was the worst because, you think of radiation and it's
Yeah.
what's it doing to your body, and
Mhm.
it's going to hit my heart, my lungs, like any of the,
Everything.
what is it going to do? And what if the cancer comes back? They
Yeah.
can't treat that anymore because they're killing your skin and your
Yeah.
good cells, right? But here we are,
Yep.
8.5 years later.
Yes.
I'm
And you are cancer-free.
cancer-free. I'm
Oh,
still kicking.
That's great news. That's great news. Yeah.
And yeah, it is one day, one step at a time,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. And then I'm sure you get regular screening and stuff just to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I am now to the portion of my healing journey where I only go in once every year now.
Mm.
I mean, I go in once a year for blood, twice a year for blood, once a year for the mammogram, because I'm past the 5-year mark
Yeah.
of return. They always say if the
Yeah.
cancer is going to come back for triple negative, it will usually come back between 1 and 3 years. If you get to 5 years, the chances are,
yeah.
the odds go way up to like
Yeah.
80 some plus percent. So there's still that, little percentage.
Yeah. That's always kind of in the back of your mind a
Right.
little bit, but
It never leaves your mind anymore.
Yeah.
You're just on this ultimate roller coaster,
Yeah.
and I hate roller
understandable. Yeah, me too.
coasters.
Don't do them.
Right?
So well, first of all, you're just a walking miracle, and you have turned something so devastating into something, a good cause with Shay's Warriors. So tell us a little bit about how that got started.
Yeah. During the cancer journey, I started a blog, which was Shay's Warriors. And I was able to really get some of those fears and those anxieties out every Thursday before my chemo day. My blog was actually called "Today's My Chemo Day."
Oh.
And it was a way to connect with others all in one space.
Yeah.
Which, when you write something out, it really helps put your feelings out there.
Mhm.
And in all honesty, I thought, if I'm going to die, because they said originally I had like an 8 to 10% chance. And I was like, I'm going to die going out, saying exactly what's on my mind.
Right.
I didn't care. So I wrote and basically threw up all over my blog. And it was a really good experience. When my cancer was done, I continued that writing experience, because what I noticed inside me is it really helped mentally.
Yeah.
It helped me to get everything out there in a safe space where no one was really judging me.
Right.
Not everyone was invited to that space, but we had thousands of people that were on there.
Yeah.
And
that was helping other people.
It was helping
Yeah.
other people, and it was helping them connect to a friend who just got diagnosed with cancer, or maybe some of their own anxieties and fears because they were a survivor. And, we really connected that way. And so then a friend of mine who had been with me throughout the start of the beginning, Eileen Alvarez, she was diagnosed at 36 years old. And that was the first time she was diagnosed. And she was my go-to. One of them, I had her and another friend, Karen. And I would call her. We would meet for coffee once a month, or we would go for lunch. And I would say, what about this? What about this? Like, I'd always ask her. We had 2 different types of breast cancer, but she was that support system that I needed through the whole process. And after we were done with chemo, we celebrated just her and I. We went to lunch, and she brought me flowers and a sweet blanket and just was so happy. And then I said to her, I said, I feel like I should be celebrating, but why do I not feel happy? And she's
Wow.
like, well, this is kind of the process. I was like, everybody is so happy and all of our support, they're going back to their normal lives. And all my friends want me to go out, but I'm tired. I don't want to go out. I'm fatigued. Like, is this normal? And she's like, girl, yes. You know? And she said, this is the stuff that people never tell you. And it was kind of this moment where I was like, wow, there's just so much more healing. Because if you think about it, looking back now, I was going through the PTSD, the trauma of it all, because I was living for the last year in this tunnel that was driven by my adrenaline to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
To
and then
survive.
Now you're there, and then
now you're there, and it's like this dead stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I'm not who I was before cancer. I don't know how to move forward in this life after cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gross. I'm fat because, you know, they pump all the steroids in you.
Right.
And my hair is growing back this peppered, weirdish color. Like I think I had acne and stuff. I mean, all this stuff, like my body had changed so much. I wasn't able to look in the mirror at the scar.
Wow.
And that took over a year to really look at, because every time I would look at, like, try to look,
traumatic.
It was traumatic. It was like my body failed me. Like, what did I do wrong?
Because you were doing all the right things.
Right.
Yeah. So says a lot right there. You could be doing all the right things. You still need to get tested.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I was young too. So
yeah,
who the heck? Like, if I realized, like, if I hadn't been that advocate for myself, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And these are the things that Eileen and I would talk about. And at that time, I was going in for scans and for blood work. I think I was at every week, because I had a port in, and you have to get your port flushed every week. And so that was traumatic, to go back to the chemo room and see all of the people on a Thursday that when I was sitting there, they were there, but they didn't get to leave, and I did.
Yeah.
So this thing called survivor's guilt popped up.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself going back with cakes and cookies and goodies just to be there, because I felt safe in that environment. And they understood me without having to say a word, and I understood them. And they were happy for me that I got to go. But it was really this weird place. I was so sad, because I'm like, what if they don't make it out? How am I going to deal with that? And I would go home and think about that. And then all of a sudden I felt like I was going crazy, because every time I had a headache, every time I had a bone ache, every time my stomach was aching, I'm like, the cancer's back. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And so I told my family, and I told Eileen, I'm like, I've got to get out of here. I'm going to go to a yoga retreat. And hopefully I can relearn how to do yoga. And because that was a one thing in my life that grounded me, and it made me feel good, and it was peaceful. And I went to this retreat, which was just right outside of Malibu, great area, and by Topeka Canyon. And I was there for a week. And during that time, there were 50 other people, or 49 other people that were there. And I didn't know any of them. It was like, I never had gone to a retreat where I didn't know anybody. And it was listening to their stories and their inspiration and the different things. And even though they hadn't gone through cancer, they had gone through some other traumatic things, or they knew someone that had gone through cancer. And we all had a chance to share a little bit of our stories and what our walk of life was. And it was this inspiration for me, where I was like, wow, this is making me feel a little normal again.
Yeah.
And when the retreat was over, I jumped in the car, and I was on the I-10 on the way home. it was that point where, you know, you either go on you go to San Diego or you come to out here back to the desert. I called Eileen up and I said, Eileen, I know what my purpose in life is. And she's
Wow.
like, what? And I said, we are going to start a retreat for cancer survivors because you helped me throughout this whole journey. What if we're able to help other people the same way, but in a larger
Exactly.
setting when there's 30 or 40 of us?
Yeah.
And we're able to like just be this community that can help heal each other
Yeah.
without the doctors, without the
They get it,
nervous,
you know?
that get
Yeah.
it, and without having to give any burden to our family. And our families are awesome, but
Yeah.
if you haven't gone through a traumatic experience or cancer or a car wreck or whatever it is, you don't really understand the depths of that is. But the
Right.
one thing I knew is she understood me and I understood her because we've both been there.
Right.
And that's kind of how Shay's Warriors was born.
Okay.
And I came home and I put a business plan together and I called a nonprofit attorney local that I knew in town.
Right.
And I said, hey, can you meet my friend and I want to talk to you about something. And I didn't know if it would be a for-profit or a nonprofit business because I'd never in my life had, you know, thought I would work for a nonprofit. Not other than anything is that I've always run normal businesses.
Yeah.
And long story short, we all met and decided nonprofit was the way to go. Yeah. We got the bylaws into place, applied for the license, and on November 26th of 2018, Shay's Warriors became that nonprofit. We got our amazing EIN number and our 501c3 status. And I think that weekend, everyone met at my house. There were 20 of us who met at my house around my kitchen table. And our nonprofit attorney said, okay, we got to form a board. And board members were formed that night. And it was a go. That's how it started.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you turned something so devastating into now a positive that can help other women that are going through the same thing.
Yes.
And did you get funding to be able to first start this, or?
So we didn't have funding to start it right away. We figured we're going to write grants, which is a typical thing. We can do some fundraising.
Right.
And I took some of my own personal money and fronted the money to pay the attorney and put the bylaws together and all of that, because I believed in this vision of what I had for that.
Right.
And yeah, so I think our very first grant that we received that next year was from Sylvie Dunham at Bighorn BAM. They were the first people. They gave us a $5,000 grant that year. Right. We were on cloud 9 together.
Oh, sure.
And we knew we were going to help a lot of people with that, you know. But the retreat that we were doing, it was going to be a little daunting to some people because I knew that retreat would cost for 40 women at that time it was 3 days and 2 nights at a local resort. It would cost us between $60,000 to $100,000. And when you're just starting out that's as a nonprofit, you know, because in my vision, it was to pay for it all.
Yeah.
Cancer took so much from all of us that this is something that I was determined to give back to our community of women that need it and need that healing space and that connection with others that have walked that same journey.
And so now you do fundraisers and stuff like that to raise money. And I know that you have a retreat that's starting tonight.
Yes.
And runs through the weekend. And so I know it's a little too late for anybody to get involved in this particular one, but you also do a lot of workshops and other events. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
So women know where to go and reach out.
So our the retreat itself, anyone can get involved in that and become a partner a sponsor, or an in-kind donor.
Mm-hmm.
That's a year-round thing because we fundraise all year round for that. But the retreat isn't the only thing. We have an extension of the retreat, which is our programs that we produce every month, 4 times a month. We have something called Coffee and Connections.
I saw that on your website.
Yep. Cancer survivors, their families, anyone that's been affected from cancer can come. We pay for the coffee or tea, and we have a chance to connect and talk about what we're doing in the life after cancer process to continue healthy mindsets, to continue physical, mental, and spiritual bodies, like to move forward.
A good support group.
Yes. It's like a support and accountability group too.
Yeah, and I know that this is predominantly for women, but I also noticed on your website that you have a Yo Bro experience for men.
We do.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the Yo Bro, I'm Brave Too came about, I think, year 3 of Shay's Warriors, because the men were so excited to see us doing so much for women. We started getting calls like, do you have anything for male services?
Yeah.
And a couple of our board members and a couple of men in the community decided to put a group together. And so they get together about every 8 weeks at a surprise place. We go ahead and take care of the food, the beverages. They have a great chance to connect. And there is always information about men's health there, because a lot of men, even though they are great in the gym and they claim to take really good care about themselves, men need to get checked too. There's prostate cancer, there's colon cancer, there is testicular cancer, and that stuff has been on the rise. And men really need to understand, some of those ranges of what to look for. And at a certain age, men really just need to start getting those annual checks, just like women in mammograms.
Yeah, early detection, definitely the key.
Big time.
Yeah. So if people want to get involved or they want to donate, how do they go about that?
They can go to shayswarriors.org, give or support us. There's a link on top. If they want to get involved, we are always looking for amazing volunteers that will come because of the cause. And we also, all of our fundraisers or events that we do throughout the year, which are many, they can come and just support, buy a ticket and come and have fun and introduce themselves to us. Like, we want to be involved with community versus just having someone come and, pay for a ticket and just go. We want to know who you are, and we want to be able to share in your blessings and in your celebrations, and also be there for you if you don't have anyone there. So,
So everybody knows that they're not alone.
Correct.
Yeah.
We don't want anyone to be alone. That's one of our purposes.
Yeah. shayswarriors.org if you want to donate or you want to get involved. Shay, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your story with us. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope that this will help some women that are watching, and men too, to make sure and get early detection. Go in, get your mammograms, get your testing done. And, it can make a really big difference if you get detected early. Thank you so much, Shay.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Our next guest is musician, talent booker, Matt King. Hi,
Hello.
Matt. How you doing?
Hi, Tracy. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Yeah. So you've got a lot of exciting things going on.
Yeah.
Let's start off by talking about your latest venture, Dunes Booking.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us how that got started, how long you've been doing it?
Yeah. So I was, putting shows together just for fun, mostly just around my bands, finding people to open up for my bands or my bands to open up for other bands.
Right.
And I think the impetus for having a whole booking kind of name and project started because I put together a Halloween compilation, which was a bunch of local bands submitted a Halloween song for a compilation album that I made called It Came From the Desert. And I wanted to do a show of all the bands that were featured on the album.
Right.
So I put all the bands together. I'm like, this is not that hard. As I've learned, it is pretty hard.
Right.
But I was like, I could probably do this and help out bands get shows, because a lot of them were saying like, this is like the best show we've ever played. And, you know, there were things that I've seen other, you know, people that have booked shows do that, like, I think would be cool to put all together. You know, I like what he does, she does. So let me put all these together and try to offer something to the community. So yeah, I started doing Dunes booking. I think the beginning of this year is when I actually formally started. And yeah, it's just all about, you know, giving a platform for local bands. We have finally some great venues in town that we can have some consistency at.
Yeah.
So just, you know, getting in there, shaking hands, and using my connections for good to have some shows for local bands.
Exactly. And we know firsthand that there's a lot that goes into booking. It's a lot of fun, but there is a lot of work that goes into it. You know, wrangling everybody together and that kind of thing. So that's really cool, because we don't have a lot of bookers in town.
Yeah.
So, and you have your pulse on all types of music, but a lot of the young bands too, that are up and coming here in the Valley. So a lot of things have changed since COVID. There was a little bit of a lull, and now everything seems like it's really coming back strong.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. You're part of that.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough for a while trying to get shows, or, you know, I had a few shows with my band that like we had to like cancel because someone tested positive for COVID. You know, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad things seem to be kind of firing on all cylinders now. And there's some, you know, venues out here that are supporting it, and old venues that, you know, thought were never coming back or popping back up, like the Red Barn's back now, which is crazy to see. So yeah, it's a good time to be a local musician here.
Exactly. Let's talk about some of the venues that you're booking at and some of your upcoming shows that are after, you know, today we're airing.
Yeah. So I am also booking at Little Street Music Hall. That's like the primarily place where I book. So I'll have a show there May 25th.
Okay.
And then I'll also have another show there June 16th. Those are two shows that I'm doing at Little Street. I have other shows that I'm working on, but venues I need to secure right now. I'm also planning to book 1 to 2 more shows during the summer at Pappy and Harriet's.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you were booking up there too.
Yeah, I'm booking one there. By the time this episode come out, it'll pass, but on May 14th, I'm booking a show there.
Okay. And I know that you have you just did one at the river.
Yep.
And so I know it's probably going to be kind of hot to do anything moving forward because it's outside, but that's a cool venue there in the little amphitheater. So,
and I'm gracious that they've wanted to support local music. They had the great Battle of the Bands there last October. So it's cool that another place that's, you know, throwing the bone for local musicians,
supporting music. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about you, the musician. So how many bands are you currently playing in? Because I know there's more than 1 or 2.
Yeah. Right now it's 4 bands.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about each one a little bit.
So I have my personal band, which is where I write all the music and stuff for, and that's called Salt and City Surf Club.
Right.
And it's like surf rock, surf punk, kind of, you know, goofy stuff. So I've had that one for a while, and that's with myself. That's with Jason Smith, who used to be in the CMFs and my other bands. I have my girlfriend Alyssa playing keys. And then I have Miguel Arbayo playing guitar, who has been, you know, in almost every project locally, played with a bunch of people. And then I also play with Empty Seat, who, you know, friends of the show. And they're great. Erin and Anthony and Ricky are cool. They asked me to join a few years ago, and it's been a great ride being able to play with them. So I love that very much. I recently joined this new band in the desert. They're called Beverly Bomber. They describe themselves as freak pop, kind of like garage punk kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. The guy he has some cool songs about the desert that are cool to play. And I was a fan of watching his band play for a while. And when he asked me to join, I was like, well, yeah, I listen to your songs all the time anyway. So this will be a good fit. You know, I kind of know them already. So I just started playing with them. And then I'm also working on a new project with my friend Miguel, who plays in the surf band. But we don't have a name for that one yet. But
oh my gosh. So you are a
3.5.
busy guy.
Yeah.
That's
kidding.
Very cool. So do you have a dream collaboration that you would like to do? I mean, is there anybody in the desert that you haven't performed with that you'd like to do something with?
That's a good question.
I thought so.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who I haven't got to work with yet. I would love to do something with Nick and Derek, Nick Hales, Derek Timmons, like they're old friends of my brothers. So I grew up, you know, knowing them and being friends with them. And I've gotten to play with them a few times and book their bands, but I'd love to play with them in some capacity. We did the I always think back to that mixed up music party that was had at the
Oh,
Hood, where we
yeah,
got to play all
yeah.
those covers. That was such a fun time. So being able to work with them again, or even Jeff, who threw that event, being able to
Right, Jeff
do
Bowman.
like a
Yeah.
sequel to that event with Jeff would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, the all of the things that I'm doing now, all the events I'm throwing, it's a lot of inspiration from, when I was growing up, when I was a kid, barely being able to get into the Hood or kicked out at 10, but taking inspiration
Right.
from all the great events you guys did, or people like Jeff did, all these cool shows that really, made it feel like such a welcoming community. And I think everything I do is just trying to be an extension of that and continue that kind of, cool creative space that's here in the desert.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're bringing the CV Music Awards back next
Sweet.
year. And so you'll definitely have to be on with at least one of your bands performing.
Sure.
So, do you have a favorite venue or a favorite event that you've been involved with? Sometimes that's kind of hard because you hate to
Yeah.
single one out, but is there something that stands out to you uh, from the past, a performance or something like that?
Yeah. Well, favorite venue, I think Little Street Music Hall is definitely my favorite venue.
Yeah,
And it goes further than just me liking the venue. I mean, the first show I ever played locally was the Battle of the Bands at the fair, the Riverside County Fair. And that's where I met the guys from Avenida who own that venue.
right.
So they've been, such a huge like mentor, bigger brother band for me and all of my other bandmates from Frank Eats the Floor, So it's really cool to see that the city has allowed them to bring live music and have this consistent space for live
Exactly.
music. And they're always down for my crazy ideas, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
But I think that's my favorite venue just because, all the bands that play there say that, this is the, best stage we've ever played on. This is the most, attention to detail the sound guy has had. We've never had snacks in the green room before. It's super cool.
Yeah.
I just threw a show there last night with a band from Texas, and they were like, this is date 10 on the tour, and this is the best we've been treated all tour. I'm like,
Wow.
that's awesome to hear.
That is.
So I think they're doing really great things over at Little Street
Yeah.
Music Hall.
Yeah.
In terms of a favorite event I've thrown, they're all pretty fun. I mean, we we're talking about the Halloween one earlier. That was a really fun one because I had 11 different bands play on the same night, and they each did
that's
one
a
or two
lot.
songs.
Mhm.
Another great thing about Little Street Music Hall is they have a really killer backline, and it's
Uh-huh.
always there. So when I book the bands, I'm like, you don't have to bring anything. You bring your guitar and
Yeah.
plug in and play. So that one was really fun. People got to celebrate the community and celebrate Halloween too, which is my favorite holiday. We also did a similar one to that one for Thanksgiving, where we did a canned food drive. So I had like 11
Right.
bands play, and instead of paying entrance, it was just bring a can of food. So we got to bring like 4 to 5 filled of those, command tubs to Find Food Bank, which was pretty cool. But I think the real promoter answer would be the next one is gonna be my
Oh, I
favorite.
love that. Always thinking ahead.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love it. I love it. Well, we're real excited about what downtown Indio has done. I
Mhm.
mean, it's really kind of revived, and
Yeah.
Little Street, they're doing great things. Everybody is singing their praises, including us. And so, well, it's been a pleasure having you on today.
Yeah,
I
thanks for having
appreciate you
me.
taking the time
Of
because you're so
course.
busy and all. Where can people get in contact with you if they want to book a show through you or book one of your bands?
Sure. Yeah. You can go to Dunes Booking on Instagram at Dunes Booking. All of the band pages can be found. You can just go to my personal. It's at Matt Sean King, MatTseanKing. All my band pages are in my bio. Pretty simple.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. Well, thank you so much,
Thanks,
Matt.
Tracy.
All right. We'll be right back. Our next guest is Empty Seat. We are here today with Anthony and Erin, husband and wife. Welcome. Glad to have you guys here. Yeah. So I just wanted to get a little background about you guys so everybody knows that you are husband and wife. And how long have you been together, and how long has Empty Seat been together?
Well, first of all, we went to high school together. So I knew him in high school, and then later after high school, I wanted to start a band. Originally, I wanted to start an all-girl band, and I had tried to get these 2 young girls in there. And at the boyfriend that I had at the time, I told him, "You're gonna play the drums," and that didn't work out. So I needed a guitarist, and I knew that he was picking up on guitar, which he was just starting, and I had called him after high school, and we just started jamming out, and that's how we had started MPC. So
Okay.
we've been married for about 18 years, but we didn't actually get married until we were in the band for 5 years.
Okay.
So
All right. Interesting. So you said that you were writing songs. Are you planning on releasing any new music, like an EP or a CD, anytime soon?
Well, originally the plan was to start working on an EP, and what ended up happening was we dropped 2 singles a few years ago, "So Alive" and "Take Back," and those are on Spotify now. So I think the next step, we're going to continue just creating more singles at this point. You know, in the future there could possibly be a vinyl, we're thinking. So we're
Very
kind of
cool.
like, sometimes these things take longer to put out really good music,
Quality.
quality music,
Yeah.
quality tracks. So pretty much we're really digging deep on songwriting, just making everything better. We have to top whatever we always put out last. So it does take
Right.
longer. Anyone could just spit out music, but if you want like great music that's going to last, I think it does take a lot longer. But sometimes you could get lucky. Sometimes you get, the lightning in a bottle, like just spur of the moment. I might wake up with like a riff, go record it in the garage, show it to the guys, and we might get lucky. But sometimes it takes time to just develop something special. So I
Right.
think we're gonna record, and we might be doing it locally as well. So
and some of the songs that we're coming out with are songs we've written a long time ago. And we have a catalog of so many original songs that have never been released, that we've recorded before, that are kind of in demo mode, that could be so much better. So sometimes we dig in and we get those old songs and we try to modernize them and bring them out. Like we had just came out with "So Alive" last year, and that song was from a long time ago, but maybe like 10 years ago.
oh yeah,
And
it
we
went through
just
so many
barely recorded
stages.
it, yeah.
It was originally written with the other people backing it up on the back line, and it just didn't. I thought, it was good at the time, but then the only thing you can do is, as you move through time, in many years later, you can only look back. So when you look back at it, and we have so much experience now, you notice things like, wow, that could have been a good song. It's not there.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
what's happening now. We're reflecting, going, okay, we're probably the best shape as a musical group right now, as far as like, we have the original drummer still, and then we have acquired Matt King, and he's like a heaven sent bass player. He's fresh, he's
Yeah.
very open to, doing whatever he wants. I said, do it, make this your own thing. I don't want you to be my bass player. I want you to be a bass player's bass player, and ignite it, because I think he energizes the band. Pretty sure
Yeah.
he does, and
He does
he's
bring
easy
an
to work
energy
with.
to everything
Yes,
he
he
does, for
does.
sure.
Yes, he does.
We've been having a blast with him. He's been so fun. He's so experimental like us. So just having him play with us has brought out so much,
A different layer to everything.
very
Yeah.
different. Yeah, very different. And we're having so much fun right now. I think we are a good fit. Right now, we're really happy with what's going on.
Oh, good, good. And as you know, Matt was here earlier with us talking about his new project, Dunes Booking. So, yeah, it's really cool that he's bringing a different flavor. Kind of keeps you energized, everything new and fresh and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, he's a cool kid.
So, are you performing a lot right now, or are you basically working on the new music?
We're performing here and there. We're not doing a lot of shows right now because we are focusing on the writing. We would like to come out with definitely an EP, maybe an album. So we're being very selective on what we're playing right now. And if somebody asks and it's a good opportunity, then
Right.
we're open to it. But as far as right now, we only have a couple shows that we're focusing on.
Okay. And I know you have a big show coming up in July.
Mhm.
You're going to be opening for John Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that, how that came about. And do you know John?
Not personally. I mean, we know of his music and we know of him being out here. but I think it was when we did the Battle of the Bands, we met for the first time. But as far as, we just found out a few days ago that he asked us to play, and we were all shocked. We
Wow.
were super excited and shocked.
That's a big feather in your cap. Yeah.
His music's awesome, and he's awesome, and we were just kind of like, what? Like,
Yeah.
It was so fast. I don't even know where it came from. It was just like, okay, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So it's happening,
Yeah,
He's definitely a desert legend for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, originally we're from Whittier, right? Whittier, California. And I still remember my cousin, he was like, hey, you got to check out Caius. I was like, I don't know what that is, coming from like an LA kind of thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. And this is like, the internet was probably new at the time, it was like still fresh. So it wasn't like you had social media to share music, but that Caius CD reached all the way to Whittier. And when you used to actually burn CDs and, tracks were like mixed on there.
Back in those days.
Oh yeah. And that's how I discovered it, through my cousin saying, hey, check this out. And then he said, there's also this Queens of the Stone Age band coming out. And I was like, whoa, what is this? So being I'm a open book as far as like music. I like it all, and I'll try it all. Anything from jazz to rock to even 1920s, 30s, anything musical, original blues. But yeah, I remember hearing that CD for the first time. I was like,
yeah,
wow. And now, like, full circle, now I'm calling my cousin, guess who I'm playing with? And he's like, what?
Was he really surprised?
Pretty cool, yeah. Because he totally looked up to that band, and
yeah.
I was like, I can't believe it. Like,
he's such a nice person.
He is.
Nice, yeah, so we're really excited for that. We're still kind of like pinching ourselves. Is it happening? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that show.
Very exciting. And that's going to be at Pappy and Harriet's on July 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so everybody can be, looking for that show and get their tickets.
And we'll be playing with Whitewater, who are also some good friends of ours. We've been playing for a while together, and it'll be a good show.
Good. What are some of your favorite places here in the desert to perform? Like from the past even and currently? Because the music scene is the venues have kind of changed here recently, and it's starting to open back up with, more venues to play.
Well, for sure, like our first beginnings were like at the Hood, so.
The Hood is, like iconic, the desert, like that's one of the places we kind of started out when we started playing. We've gone back there a few times, and they're awesome to us. They're really cool with us, and I always used to tell the owner that he reminded me of like a CPT of the desert. It was like a lot of rock metal bands just go in there and do your thing, and has that vibe. So that was a place that I always had fun playing, and Big Rock Pub was fun, and Tap Room, and
we went up for Terry Reid at Big Rock, huh?
Yeah, with Diesel Land.
Yeah, that was another memory.
I remember
like
that.
So many good things happened.
Yeah.
That was the first time we were on stage. Was that club or club restaurant, right? We played the
Yes.
That was awesome.
You did play the Stevie Music Awards, yes.
With Paul Rogers, remember? Isn't he going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with that company?
Yeah, he made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're so excited about that for him.
No, it was well deserved.
Little Street.
Absolutely.
It's newer, but they've been really good to us.
Everybody's raving about that.
Yeah.
Little Street and Oasis, the two of them.
Fun.
Yeah.
What other venues? I think that's about it. I mean,
That's most of
those
the
are our
places
favorite
we
ones.
Go around to.
That's cool. Yeah. So, who are your influences, early on and now?
Mine? Oh, mine. No, for sure it's eclectic. I like the early 60s, the Doors and anything kind of psychedelic, Hendrix. Also, going more modern would be like a Mars Volta kind of thing, the Strokes, anything catchy. The Strokes always remind me of an older band, even though they're like a new band, because they kind of have jingles in their music, and I kind of like, I start digging, I used to listen to music, but not pay attention. I think now, like, I pay attention to more what I listen to. But those are probably my favorites. I just recently watched was it the Mars Volta at the Palladium? So they're playing a whole new album now, but they're probably a huge influence on me because I like they're kind of a modern psychedelia kind of band, but they also change. And I would like our band to some way like capture some of that. You know, I think in the future, if we're together in another 10 years, you might hear something different, more different than we've ever done. So
we've always gone through phases where, I don't know, back when we started, people could never really pinpoint what we were or like the style. Like, are you punk? Are you alternative? We would mix punk, jazz, rockabilly, metal. I think at the time, in the beginning, each band member liked different music. So our bass player was into like metal, and the drummer was punk rocker with a mohawk, you know, and him and I were more classic rock, rock alternative. So we would just, when we jammed, we just created like our own recipe of music, and it had our own sound where we'd go hard like punk, but then all of a sudden it would go jazzy with some jazzy vocals, and then it would go to like something like weird Deftones-y. It's hard to say like this is what you are, you know. That's why we call ourselves rock alternative, but you never know what mood we're in. So we've gone where we were in a classic rock mood, and we just started writing a lot of blues songs and classic rock, kind of like Led Zeppelin type stuff. And then, you know, we'll get like another bass player, somebody, a different personality, and then all of a sudden we're doing more punk stuff. And then later on, maybe we'll go more metal just out of anywhere. Like, no, you don't know what we're going to come up with. We just kind of, whatever we channel in just comes out. And we don't try to go by a genre or try to go by a certain thing. It's just whatever we feel.
That's what I really like about you guys. It's hard to really define or pinpoint, you know, and stick you in just one genre because you kind of run the gamut. Yeah,
you
and
can
that's
tell us to do
cool.
country, and we put country.
Yeah.
So it's whatever goes. So, yeah.
What females are your favorite that you kind of admire vocally?
My
female
all-time is Pat Benatar. She's like my. When I was a kid, I'm an only child, so my parents worked a lot, and my mom always called me a latchkey kid. So they didn't get home till 7 or 8 every night, and I would come home after school, and I had nothing to do. So at that time, we had cassette tapes, and I had Pat Benatar, Crimes of Passion. I had like Wilson Phillips, the Bangles, and Kathy Dennis. But Pat Benatar was the one that I knew from back to front. I knew all the words. I always idolized her rock sound, the rasp in the voice, you know, the rock. And it was always my dream to just like conquer that rasp, that rock edge. And I just tried, and I'd go home from school and I'd put the tape in. And that was my vocal teacher. That is what I always say. Pat Benatar was my vocal teacher because that's what taught me. I just go home, and my parents wouldn't be home. You know, it was like Tom Cruise with the socks sliding in the room. I just put my tape in, and I just over and over sing the top of my lungs and just do that until my mom finally got me a vocal teacher, which was a lady that was in a metal band. Her name was Raven. The band was Raven Storm, and she was a very strong metal teacher. And she taught me to take that little girl voice out and be able to sing with projection. And she would say, okay, you're going to have to sing where they can hear you at the back of the room without a microphone. So that's why I'm so
That's a good
loud.
lesson.
That's why I've had a lot of people before say, you sing too loud. And I do sing loud, but
nothing wrong with that.
That's just because it's called power.
That's who you are. You have a powerful voice.
And I was taught that way because I wasn't always like that. There was a time where I was just a little quiet girl singer, and then I discovered Pat Benatar, and that was
I see her influences in you, and I love to watch you perform because you're really into it, you know. And the two of you together,
love classic rock, love Pat Benatar, and then just recently through the years, we worked with Sherry Curry from the Runaways, and she's another big idol. I mean, she's got
I remember
such a great
that
voice, such rock edge. I mean, she's even now, she's still. We just saw her at the Whiskey for one of her last shows, and I can't believe like how great she still is and how just rock and roll, female rock and roll idolistic she is. So yeah, those are probably two of my big ones. Ann Wilson, a lot of classic rock females.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest ones for me.
Yeah, and that's what I see in you when you perform.
Mm-hmm.
And I love your look, and you look great too. Yeah, and I love the way you guys pull your looks together.
We coordinate.
But yeah,
the whole band does though. That's like our little thing. Like
you have that rocker chick look. I mean, it's really cool. I love it.
Before a show, like we will, even with Ricky, our drummer, and Matt, like we're totally into our look, and we'll say like make sure we're wearing the colors that look right. We don't want it to be like black, white, red, and then someone goes and wears orange and yellow. It's like
messes it all up. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I do believe like we like fashion as much as we like music, so we try to keep it blended together.
Yeah, I like that. Gives a really cool aesthetic to the whole project. So where can people find you online, or your music, so that they can check you out?
Well, Instagram, of course. Was it Empty Seat Official?
Yeah.
Empty Seat
we have
Official.
A website, emptyseatofficial.com, and Spotify.
Well, that's the main. Spotify is the main way to get to the music, and we're the only Empty Seat that's going to have Take Back, So Alive, Fizz Pop. I think there's like 7 tracks.
Yeah, we had originally we had 2 albums from 2003, 2006 that were full-length albums with 13 songs each. And through the years, we had decided to scratch those offline and to start over. So now we will take some of those better songs and we're reworking them out and recording some of them. So hopefully soon, we'll get to do an EP or hopefully a full album. I mean, we have enough songs for probably 3 albums. I mean, we have a lot of backlog music that it just takes time because we all kind of come from different areas, and Ricky comes from the LA area. So just to rehearse, we have to really plan it, and we have like 6-hour rehearsals when we do have them because we got to get it all in, So it takes time, and luckily, I think that's what holds Empty Seat together is that we're together. Kind of like Pat Benatar. We get to write, together in the garage, and we don't have to wait for the band. We can say like, let's just start writing the song, and then we'll present it, and then we work on it together. And I think that's how a lot of stuff moves forward quicker.
Right.
But yeah, we have a lot of music to work on. It just seems like sometimes one song can take a long time.
Yeah.
To perfect. I guess we try to, but some of those songs that you wouldn't know, but you would think like they're new and they're just being released. But no, we wrote those songs like 10 years ago.
Yeah, in development, I mean, sometimes the song will be shelved, as they say, and then I'll go into the hard drive in the computer and scrub through this millions of folders I have of things that didn't happen, or we forgot. Like, oh, remember that thing? So we'll try and riff it out, and then discover, if it's gonna work or not. Or I mean, we don't really go. Yeah, we don't really go by like Erin said earlier, like the trends. I think right now for music, in a general sense of what's happening right now, is like it's wide open. It's the most wide open thing I ever heard in my life. There's so many new bands and a lot more women singers I see out there as well, which is it's cool. It's like a resurgence of like kind of like the 90s when there was a lot of girl bands. There's like more punk girl bands. There's more aside of the pop stuff that's happening.
There's a lot of female singers in the desert.
There are.
In the low desert. I was telling Matt.
Yeah, we got to do the Women Who Rock show.
Women Who Rock show. Like
that would be cool. Let's do that.
How many girls out here rock? And
that's a great idea.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we should do that. Shoot for like next year, like Women Who Rock concert. All girl fronted or girl bands. It doesn't matter, but I think it's.
And we see the next generation coming in. All the younger bands coming in, and they're doing great right now. They're on fire. So. We've been having fun.
That would be a great idea, and have the younger and the more seasoned, female performers to come together.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming in today and taking the time to chat with us. And you guys are going to perform for us today. All right. Okay.
We're going to perform Still Alive, the last single.
Oh, cool.
We're going to do an acoustic little something. Yeah.
All right. Empty seat.
There are things that you won't believe. There's no confusion. You tried to rip my heart at the seams. You were never meant to be. It's no illusion. This is a conclusion. Now I realize I'm so blind. There are things that you only see, the sky they're gleaming. You tried to rip my heart at the seams, just like Christmas Eve. It's no illusion. This is a conclusion. Now I realize I'm so blind. Now I see the light. I'm so blind. Never thought it would be this way. Never thought we'd die. Never thought you would have to say me cry. Oh, I could see it now. Oh, I could see so clearly. Oh, I could see it's time to say goodbye. I can see it now. I realize I'm so blind. Now I see the light. I'm so blind. Alive.
I would like to thank all of our guests today, filmmaker Sesma, Shay Moraga, Matt King, and MTC. I would also like to thank our main episode sponsor, Fantasy Springs, and our advertisers, Big Rock Pub, Pickford Theater, and Kitty Pig Beer. And I would also like to give a shout out to my partner in crime behind the camera, Phil Lacombe. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have another episode for you next Thursday. Stay tuned.